Will there be enough XRP on exchanges when ETF demand really takes off? We're going to talk about it. Here is a new document from Wisdom Tree that talks about that. We also have some new information from Crypto Erie about Ripple XRP and the boom that is happening all throughout the world. There are also some new things going on with crypto on Capitol Hill. We're going to talk about that. There is also some information about the bricks in Ripple XRP at the end. Let's go into this thing by Smoke Dog. It says that there will be a supply shock for certain XRP before Bitcoin, Wisdom Tree. By about 2014, Bitcoin should have a maximum supply of 21 million units, and XRP will reach its full quantity in the following few years. We are clearly talking about XRP that is held in escrow. Every month, 1 billion is set free. Ripple is regularly locking up roughly 70% of XRP, which means it's relocking it. There is substantial controversy about whether or not all of the XRP is actually held by BlackRock or JP Morgan. If that's the case, why is Ripple relocking 70% of the time? Because they've been locking that up for years. And if that XRP is meant to go somewhere, why isn't it going there? That's what I thought when I first read that. XRP doesn't have much of a relationship with either Bitcoin or Ether, but they do have a strong one. Talks about how the supply of XRP changes for investors. Bitcoin and XRP are both rare cryptocurrency, but they have different schedules for when they are made. Bitcoin should reach its highest supply in 2014, it claims. XRP should reach its highest supply in the next few years. After that, the quantity of XRP units will only go down since transaction fees burn them. This is also something that won't change anything in our lifetime. I did some math here. You would only lose 34 million XRP a year if every transaction in the world happened on the XRP ledger. Only 34 million of every single deal. So this is never going to help us. I don't know why people keep bringing it up, but it's okay. As long as demand for XRP stays the same or goes up, XRP scarcity should be good for the price of XRP. Okay. And I just wanted to see what's really going on with the XRP supply. We do. I keep you guys up to date on this because I think these talks are incredibly essential. As exchange reserves drop to dangerously low levels and institutional demand rises, including the possible effects of ETF approval, a supply shock for XRP is becoming a serious worry. This is a breakdown of the evidence that answers your questions. XRP supply shock. A supply shock happens when the supply of a liquid asset, like XRP, drops sharply while demand stays the same or rises. As purchasers fight for a limited number of tokens, prices can go up quickly and sometimes violently. Analysts are warning that big investors, or ETFs, might make big bets and cause order books to thin down, which could lead to big price increases. There are only roughly 2.7 to 3 billion XRP left on exchanges. A huge loss since the beginning of this year, with big exchanges like Coinbase losing 90% of their reserves, going from 1 billion tokens to about 100 million. Because of the current surge, Binance has around 3.6 billion XRP in reserves. But the total liquidity of exchanges is fragmented and unclear. So we don't really know if the XRP in these wallets on Binance could already be owned by people like you and me or by institutions. Some of these institutions do keep their XRP on some of these exchanges. They think that's the safest place for them. You should do what you think is best with your XRP, of course. Many people don't want to leave them on exchanges, but your financial advisor will help you make the wisest choice. But I just want to stress that this number is really hard. That's right. We did hear from what I thought was the CEO of Uphold. He did indicate that most of the XRP on Uphold had already been claimed. I would think the same thing would happen with some of these exchanges. If the XRP ETF debuts, the predicted infusion of institutional capital might swiftly take up a lot of the remaining liquid supply. As a point of reference, ETFs, taking up about 4% of the circulating XRP, might have a big effect on prices because rest of the supply is held back by escrow, whales, or offline storage. Many analysts say that exchanges may not have enough inventory to meet the growing demand from ETFs or institutions without raising prices significantly. That's interesting. What happens when order books and exchanges run out of stock? If new buy orders could come in, they would quickly outnumber current sale liquidity, driving prices up as bids compete with each other. Whales and big holders may decide to sell at much higher prices or cling on to their investments for bigger gains. If you further limit the supply spreads between bid and ask, it could make the temporary liquidity more volatile, especially when ETF flows, inflows, or surprise demand events happen. Retail investors can have a hard time buying XRP at the prices that are listed because slippage and price gaps happen all the time. It's clear that some of these exchanges might charge more to buy XRP. We've seen something like that happen in other countries before. I don't want to delve into that too much, but you can search for Kimchi Premium David Schwartz. David has a video on this that says that in Korea, people were paying, sometimes, cents more than the rest of the world because it was hard to acquire money there. Okay. American Express and Ripple posted high vibration assets. This is great. American Express is a well-known financial services company that is best known for its credit cards, charge cards, and travel operations. It has joined Ripple to make business-to-business better. This cooperation has been going on for a long time. American Express is a huge financial company worth $164 billion. Join Ripple to make payments between countries easier. Amex rolled out fast blockchain payments in September 2023. Ripple and XRP were picked by Amex. Yada, yada, yada. It's great to see that. I mean, the good thing is that Amex is one of the best companies in the world for business and credit card transactions, and when you see them being able to use Ripple and XRP technology, it shows that it works and is really safe. Simply to give you some more background on the relationship and Ripple's role in it, Ripple is now recognized as more than simply a crypto firm. It's also a key infrastructure provider. That's right, we discuss about Ripple as one of the biggest companies that builds things for the internet. You can see Medico, Hidden Road, and Rail, the company they just bought that handles 10% of all business-to-business transactions for stable currency. There is only so much infrastructure in the globe right now. Ripple is taking the important parts that they think will be useful in the future. Now think about what would happen if Ripple bought another company that does 10% to 15% of business-to-business stablecoin payments. Ripple might soon own a quarter or 30% of the world's infrastructure for stable currency used by enterprises. That's where I think this is going. More on that later. Ripple's on-demand liquidity feature, which uses XRP as a bridge asset, is used by American Express for XRP utility. This lets Amex offer almost fast international settlements without having to hold XRP directly. This makes the market more liquid and cuts down on the need for accounts that are already funded. It does mention about the timeline here. Ripple and American Express started working together in 2017. Wow, these guys are going to work together for 10 years? And only 2 years from now, payments between businesses in the US and UK in September 2023. To offer you some further background, Amex's business clientele are mostly small and medium-sized businesses. And it does talk about important events in history. If you want to see any of this material, please do. I won't read it all to you. If you want to stop and look, let's do it. Let's keep going. Crypto Eerie wrote this. The unlimited money glitch is now officially out in the open, along with Midas actual world assets and XRP, which becomes a never-ending buyer of XRP. This week, I look forward to making my taped interview with the CEO of Midas and Axelar public. Ripple is also trying to set up a base to help it move into the Asia-Pacific market, which was also revealed in Seoul today. The goal of this project is to make Korea a major hub for growing Ripple's blockchain network. I was curious if I was missing any other information. Ripple is building strong connections in Korea, which is becoming a hub for XRP ledger development, institutional collaborations, and working with regulators. This involves innovative ways to keep things safe, more involvement from local and financial institutions, and cooperation from the government, working along with the government. Do you see that? Giving Ripple and XRP a competitive edge in the region's growing crypto market. Now, let me ask you something. If you live in Korea or know about cryptocurrency in Korea, do you know of any other blockchain infrastructure business that works directly with the government like Ripple? I'd like to know more about what you said. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Please tell me what you think is going on. You know a lot more about this than those who don't live in the country. So, if you're from Korea, please tell me what you think. Infinite money malfunction and never-ending need for XRP. The XRP structure with Midas real-world assets is likely to generate a never-ending buyer for XRP, which will help keep prices stable and provide liquidity for real-world asset protocols. Programmatic. I can't say it in a systematic way. Use on-chain methods to get XRP. This should keep demand for the market high and create a paradigm for a sustainable utility headed by growth. That term is so hard to say. Okay, let's keep going. I guess a digital asset investor. Just for you, let me. It's happening because crypto is a matter of national security. But there will be drama. Senate Democrats say they want to collaborate with their Republican colleagues to move rapidly on bipartisan crypto. The politicians are going to use this for TV. You need assistance from both sides to get this done. And I believe this is a tremendous chance for Democrats to do the right thing. This is what Americans desire. It's really crucial for the U.S. right now, because we can't let other countries buy our debt. Yes, we need to sell these treasury bills to pay off our debt. We are spending more money than we ever have. We don't have that under control. And the crypto market is the only market that can help the U.S. in the short run by buying trillions of dollars worth of U.S. goods. The Treasury. So both of these groups of people need to meet and work things out. I want to say that I understand why we've been frustrated this whole time that Democrats haven't done more for the crypto business. But I mean, there comes a time when we need to start backing all of this moving forward. That's right. Things that happened in the past can make us angry. But if we keep all of that rage and aggravation inside, we won't be able to grow and see what this can become in the future. So maybe you know, I've been trying to put everything aside. Let's think about the future. Let's get bigger. Let's find just how huge this can go. According to Paul Barron, my DC people who know think this is moving pretty quickly in the correct direction. It talks about laws about market structure that show how much we want to work on this issue. We said that digital assets represent a global industry worth $4 trillion and that regulating them will need a careful, bipartisan approach. We hope that our Republican friends agreed to a procedure for writing that includes both parties. Yes, because of this, Democrats will want some of their proposals to be included in this package. And I guess that's how the government works, you know? Both sides need to get together, put their differences aside, and do what they think is best for their citizens. Okay, I believe we can finish this. Digital Perspective said that the pressure from BRICS is extremely serious and getting worse. Let me go ahead and play this for you. What's going on right now? There are a few additional threads here. The BRICS are not creating a different currency. They are inventing a new way to pay. That way of paying is not the same as a currency. They're working on things like rails, fiber optic cables, custodians, and settlement clearing for transactions in rubles, yuan, Brazilian rice, and other local currencies, as well as transactions in dollars. They still use dollars to do business. They just don't want to do business through a settlement system that the U.S. may block. So they made their own settlement system, their own clearing, their own custodians, and so on. If you don't get what's going on here, let me explain. Russia attacked Ukraine in 2022, and NATO accomplished something with the U.S. that kept Russia out of the SWIFT system. What did that do? that taught every other country that the U.S. will cut you off from the present financial system if they don't like what you did or are doing. This is why BRICS has worked hard to set up a new financial system that the U.S. can't punish them for. And this is becoming a bigger concern. And that was, I can't say if it was right or bad. That's something you need to think about. But that's what we're talking about. Just to offer you that extra information, don't get me wrong if you're not convinced. It's happened in other nations, except Russia. But this is what really pushed BRICS to do this over the US and NATO allies. You could even use it for any currency. So the BRICS don't need a new currency. And here's why. They already have one. It's gold. So, in other words, you're Russia. You are selling China a lot of oil and natural gas. You're getting paid in Chinese yuan. You're China. You are selling Russia a lot of things that were made. You're getting paid with Russian money. This place is so interesting. Over the past several years, BRICS countries have been buying gold at an alarming rate. It seems like we're going to have a currency backed by gold, or maybe gold and oil. I bet it's going to be digital, so that value can change right now. The important part here is that you may take yuan, oil, rubles, or whatever other currency you choose on the BRICS side. Think of having a BRICS asset that can move between all of those asset types. That's truly what would be best, but they're going to do what they want anyhow. I did learn more about BRICS and the XRP ledger here since I know a lot of people are guessing. The Brazilian central bank published research that mentioned Ripple and XRP as part of an approved concept test. It also talked about private sector tokenization projects and agricultural business finance, LEV, on the XRP ledger. Russia is looking into the XRP ledger as part of its digital blockchain activities. Keep in mind that Russia can't work with Ripple, the corporation, right now since Ripple is a U.S. company and Russia is under sanctions. However, Russia can build on the XRP ledger because it is a decentralized network and no one can stop them. India is aggressively looking into the XRP ledger as a way to make a digital central bank currency. Since 2018, Ripple has been working with banks like Kotak and Maharanda on trial projects. Links to the digital rupee projects. China is part of BRICS, which is doing cooperative research on a blockchain digital currency for trade settlement and getting rid of the dollar through particular XRP ledger pilots. And then South Africa used the XRP ledger and other technologies to help with blockchain innovation research and trade settlement. And then there are the strategic implications. The new development bank, MDB, and several central banks seem to be getting ready for the widespread use of the XRP ledger in the future. This would allow for settlement trade finance and programmable assets management to happen without SWIFT, right? There are no new solutions from SWIFT. SWIFT GPI, good. You made your messaging service faster, which should have happened years ago. You only had to do that because you now have better technologies like Ripple and the XRP ledger. The main problem for SWIFT is how to compete on price. If you have Ripple, it can execute your payment in an hour. That's about how long most SWIFT GPI payments take, right? 1 hour or 1 day is when 90% of those payments occurs. The true problem is the price, right? Because Ripple can process your payment in like 10 minutes, right? I know it takes 3 to 5 seconds, I know. But when you go to the bank to execute a transaction, it does take a little longer for the procedure to get approved and everything. So I'm just using that 10-minute point because I've seen it used a lot before. So let's assume it takes 10 or 20 minutes instead of an hour with SWIFT GPI, right? Okay, the speed is the same. But what about the cost? You can transmit XRP for pennies and SWIFT GPI for percentages. If you're a bank trying to address this multi-billion-dollar problem, what are you going to do? Do you keep paying the SWIFT costs, or do you find something significantly better? Okay, gentlemen, I'll see you later. Wednesday is when I'll be home. Can't wait to get back to the studio. Calm. TurboScribe.ai wrote this down. To get rid of this message, go unlimited.